Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephen Tui. On this channel I make sewing tutorials. I post new videos on Wednesdays and on Saturdays, so if you're interested, please check back on those days in order to watch new content. If you like the video, please make sure to give the video a like. It's very important that you give this video a like if you like the video, and as well, in fact, go and like all my old videos that you liked if you didn't give them a like. Please have a lovely day. Thank you for everybody that has subscribed so far. Enjoy the rest of the video. If you are a beginner or if you're a person that wants to brush up on your skill, I offer online courses. I'll be showing a demo how to make a jumpsuit for you to watch and decide if it will be convenient for you to learn online. If you're interested, send a Telegram message to the number that you can see on the screen. Thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely day. Alright, so you're welcome to this video. Welcome to the first baby video that we are making on the channel. So you will need the following measurements. I know I have dropped them there already, but let me break it down so that you know how to take the measurements. So you will need the shoulder measurements. That's the measurement across the baby's shoulder. You will need the shoulder to chest measurements. That's the distance from the shoulder to where the child's chest is. And then you will need the shoulder to the belly. So you take the distance from the shoulder to the child's navel. And then you would also need the chest measurement, of course, distance around the chest and distance around the belly. The distance, I think, for babies, the most important one you will need is actually the belly measurement, because that most likely would be the biggest part of their body at this point in their life. So the next thing you will need is the thigh measurement, so the distance around the thickest part of the baby's thighs. And then you will also need the shoulder to the crotch measurement. Now this shoulder to crotch measurement, when you are taking it, make sure to take the distance from the baby's shoulder, from the top of the baby's shoulder, that's over here, the top of the baby's shoulder, you take from there all the way to the end of the baby's diaper. Also, you need to know the length of the play suit or the romper, from the shoulder to where you want the romper to stop. So those are the measurements that you would need. So let's begin applying them. So the first one I'm going to place down here is the shoulder measurement. So I'm going to have a 1/2 inch line across here. Also, because we intend to attach a zipper in front, I'm going to keep a 1 inch space in front of what I'm drafting, because we intend to have a zipper running down the front. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place the shoulder measurement. So the shoulder we're working with is 8 inches. 8 inches divided by 2 is 4. So I'm going to place 4 inches here. And then for my neckline width, okay, for the width of the neckline, I'm going to take a 1.5. As for the shoulder slope, we need to slope the shoulder. You're going to come down by 1/2 inch. From here, come down by 1/2 inch. Now the next thing we're going to do is the neckline depth. So the deepness of the neckline, I'm still going to take a 1.5. So after you're done with this, the next thing you need to do is to place the armhole. So when you're trying to place an armhole for a baby, what you're going to do is this. Whatever the shoulder is, you divide it into 2 and place. So the shoulder I'm dealing with is 8 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place 4 inches down here. Now after you're done with that, the next thing you're going to place is you're going to make a mark from here to where you took your shoulder to your belly, because that's where the cut is going to be on this romper. Okay, so we're going to take from the shoulder to that point. For me, from the shoulder to the navel, to the belly button is 9 inches. The next thing you're going to do is you are going to place the chest measurement. The chest measurement we're working with is 20 inches. And the belly measurements too is also sitting around 20 inches. So you see they're basically the same from here all the way down. So 20 divided by 4, 5 inches. Then plus the allowance that we intend to use 1 inch, we're going to make a mark at here. So you see that for the allowance we're adding only 1 inch. Next thing you're going to do, add 1/2 inch at the bottom, add 1/2 inch at the shoulder for the joining, and then we're now safe to cut it off. So we're going to use the same pattern for when we are cutting the back. The only difference is we don't need this 1 inch in front because the zipper is not going to be at the front. So After you have folded it like so, you're going to simply place it close to an edge like this so that we can draw a new back. The only difference between the front and the back is that at the neckline here, I don't want it to be as deep, so I'm going to come down by only half an inch. Everything about the pattern is going to be cut the same way as the front. Okay, so now let's move to the bottom part. For the bottom part, what you want to do is first you want to keep a space of 2 inches away from the edge. After you have done this, you want to place a space of half an inch at the top. This is going to serve as your allowance for joining the bottom to the top. Okay, so after you place the half inch at the top, the next thing you are going to do is, remember we placed the shoulder to where the belly is at 9 inches for the top. That's what we did. So we're going to come up here and keep that 9 inch over there. So you see that I'm keeping 9 inch on that line, on the blue line that we have running across the top. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to 15.5 inches. That is my shoulder to the crotch, that's to the end of the diaper, and then the romper length at 17.5. Okay, so you see it's pretty short. She's a hot girl. So after that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run 2 lines across this point. Okay, now after we have done that, now remember the same thing we placed over here. Remember the same thing from here to here, we placed 6. So you're going to come over here and you're going to place 6 inches on top, 6 inches over here, and 6 inches over here. Okay, that's to keep the edge here straight. Okay, and now the next thing is for us to place our thigh measurement. Now the thigh measurement that we're working with, the thigh measurement is 11 divided by 2. Now that 11 was fitted around her thighs, so we cannot make it that tight. We need to free it up. She's a child, she's not going anywhere. So to free it up, what we're going to do is this. Now inside here, our thigh is 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. okay, it's 5.5. so what you are going to do is this. You're going to first make a mark of 1 inch from here to here. Now this 1 inch represents the 1 inch that we have in the front here. Then we're going to place that 5.5 plus 1 inch to free it up. Now her thigh is 11 divided by 2, 5.5 plus 1 inch to free it up. That's going to give us 6.5. We're going to place that here, and we're going to place that at the end as well. Okay, 1.5. We're going to place the same thing here as well. We're going to connect here to here, and then we're going to just make a subtle curve from the body down here. See that? So this is it. Nothing much. Under here I'm going to keep 1 inch of hemming allowance at the bottom. Alright, so when you're done cutting this out, this pattern will be used to cut both the front and the back of the bottom half, and that'll be alright. So let me start cutting. Now what you simply do, you see me do it, is you put your fabric on the fold, place your pattern on top and cut. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Alright, so I've cut all the pieces. Now please be careful when you are cutting the back. The back should not be cut into 2 pieces. It should be only 1 solid piece. Alright, so that is that. Now the next thing you want to do is you're going to cut a strip of fabric for me. Okay, no, first of all, you need to cut 2. So if you saw the way I was folding, what I simply did was I simply kept my fabric on the fold like this. But we need to cut a bias so that it will turn the neck neatly when we are done. So I need you to cut, like, instead of folding on a straight fold like you do like this, I want you to fold your fabric diagonally. So you see this? You see that? You're going to make a fold like so. Okay, that's just it. So after you make a fold like so, the next thing you want to do is you want to simply measure in 7 inches. Okay, 7 inches, and then you're going to make a cut. Okay, and after you've made it, you're going to cut up 1.5 inches. Okay, and then you're going to cut the other side 37". So this is what I want you to do. You see? Now we are doing this so that we can cut the fabric in such a way that it is stretchy. If we had made a regular straight fold, you see this is not stretchy. If we had folded like this, it's not stretchy. So when we fold diagonally, the fabric can harness all the stretch in a fabric that is not stretchy. Alright, so to begin, we'll start with the two patterns. That's the bottom half for the back. Remember I told you that the pattern that we drafted cuts both of them. So what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to join them across. So from here, I'm going to sew all the way down. Now, if you happen to have an overlocker or a weaving machine, you can use that to finish the end. So you see this rough end here, you can use that your overlocker to finish this edge. Alright, so after you've made this stitch over here and you've used the overlocker to finish it if you have it, the next thing you want to do is you are going to stitch from here all the way down. So you see this is the back, this is the body's top part for the back. I'm going to simply sew from here across. So as you can see, on the front we have two sides. So whatever I do on one side, make sure you repeat on the other side. The first thing is simply to stitch the top part to the bottom half. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just join them together at the waist. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the second half of the front, and after I'm done, I'm going to iron them and come back. Make sure to use your overlocker to finish the edge after you have made the first joining. Alright, so after that, next thing we're going to do, after we have ironed both sides of the front, is I'm going to join that 1 inch together. Remember the 1 inch that we had, we're going to join it from here all the way down. Alright, so you see I've held 1 inch everywhere from here to here. As you get close to the end, make sure to taper it out to ½ an inch. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head back to my ironing table. I'm going to keep this flat and I'm going to iron it from here all the way down. I'm going to spread and iron it like so all the way down for the next step, which is fixing the zipper. Okay, so now the next step is to fix the zipper. When you're fixing the zipper, make sure to use a zipper that is small and soft, okay? Now this is an invisible zipper, though I won't treat it as though it is. I'll fix it as if it's a regular zip. But get something small and something soft. Next thing you want to do is you want to keep the finished end. You see this? The end that is softly finished close to here, okay? You want to make sure that you keep it around where you want your opening to stop. Make sure not to push the clean head up here and push the rough part in, because we'll need to cut this, and if you cut this, the hardness of the zip might irritate the baby that's putting it on, and you don't want that. So you keep the soft end towards the end, that's the bottom. See, this is the neckline that we have. Okay, so and after you have figured out where you want it to be, you come to the top part of your zipper and then you simply stitch your zipper on, which is what I'm doing now. Now, after you have done this, the next thing you want to do is you want to zip down. Okay, now after you have zipped it down, you can cut off the excess that you have here and loosen the seam up until this point here where the zipper is supposed to stop. Alright, so you see the front. On the front, I have loosened the zipper allowance, and look at it, we now have the zipper in front. Okay, make sure to zip down before you cut the head of the zip so that you don't have to do it twice. When you are done with this, the next thing is to simply join the shoulder. Simply join both of the shoulders of the front and the back together. Make sure Alright, now after you have joined both sides of the shoulder together, the next step is we want to finish the neckline neatly. Make sure to use your overlocker to finish the shoulder if you have any rough edge over here, and the edge of your zipper allowance as well before you do all of this. Now the next step is the neck. So you see this, the piece that we cut diagonally, the one that I said will still have some stretch. I want you to fold ½ inch on both sides. So you're going to fold ½ inch here, and you're going to iron it all the way down on the left, and you're going to repeat ½ inch, forward ½ inch, and iron it on the right. Okay, so you see that now here we have the piece I was talking about. So you see this? Look at it. I have folded it half inch, and then I collapsed everything in into one piece. Now the next thing I want you to do is I want you to bend half inch at the beginning inside like so, and then collapse it back. So after you have folded a half inch in front of it, all you want to do is you want to plant the beginning of your zipper into this half inch point over here. And then we're going to stitch all of them together from here all the way up. Okay, we're going to stitch right on the edge of the bias that you have created. So when you are close to the end, you can cut off the excess. I have some excess in front of here. You can chop it off and then fold it in as well and stitch from here all the way down. I have made the neckline neat. Okay, so I'm going to simply give this a good press, and then we're going to do the armhole next. So you're going to need 2 more strips. You're going to need 2 more strips of fabric to repeat the same step that we just took. On both sides of armhole. Okay, so we're going to need the same piece cut diagonally and folded for both sides of the armhole. I'll be back. Okay, so over here I have another piece that was cut diagonally, and I've folded half inch, and collapsed it in half. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to simply plant my armhole. Okay, you see what I've done on this armhole. Okay, see the way I finished this armhole neatly. I'm going to repeat the same thing here. So what I'm simply doing is I'm going to open this up, plant my armhole in between, close it up, and then I'm going to stitch on the edge from the beginning all the way to the other side of the armhole. Alright, so you can see what we have already. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it, turn it inside out, and then I'm going to come over to the sides. So both on the left and on the right, I'm going to join half an inch from here down, half an inch from here down. Alright, after you have sewn down both sides, the next thing is to hold both the front and the back at the crotch area. I want you to simply stitch across here at half an inch. After you do that, make sure to use your overlocker to finish here as well. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to simply hem my the bottom part of my romper. Alright, so I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side over here as well. Repeat the same thing over here, and after that I'm done. But it's basically the same thing I'm doing here.